Hi, my name is Chen. I'm the VP of Engineering at Flexport. I'm very happy to be here to share our journey, our story, and then how do we leverage AWS infrastructure in freight forwarder industry. So today we have a four topic. First is I will introduce what is freight forwarder industry, and then what is Flexport, what are we doing? And the second is I will talk about our architecture, and then what kind of challenge we are facing, and how are we going to use event-driven architecture and workflow engine to solve the problem. And then third, I will share about how we're going to use machine learning and AI to solve the specific bidding problem. And then also the last part is talk about how we're using all the enterprise information, global information to build a graph database and then do advanced analysis and forecasting. Okay, so first let's talk about Flexport and then freight forwarder industry. Our mission is to make global trade easy for everyone. And then first, probably everyone, let me ask everyone a question. How many of you have heard about freight forwarder? Raise your hand. Oh, actually, surprisingly, most of people don't know about this industry. Yeah, actually, in reality, all our engineers, before they join the company, they have zero clue about what is logistic, what is a freight forwarder, and then, but it is a huge market, okay? If you look at everything around us, literally, we import and export and then get all the part and then assemble all this product and then deliver into our daily life. And then now everyone depend on the global trade, 90% or even 99% in everything we use, right? And then so, but your thing is that global trade have been there for thousands of years. Everything should be sold out, right? But actually it is not. You will be shocked how legacy it is, how lagging it is. It's just super, super inefficient. Let's take one step back. Look at the global trade, okay? So global trade is take around 10% of the global GDP. So the whole market logistic itself is around $7 trillion. And then in this whole $7 trillion, 25% of them companies spend 25% into the freight forwarder, okay? And then that's around $2 trillion market. And then if we look at the freight forwarder market itself, it's actually super, super fragmented. The biggest one is a company over 100 years old, have more than 80,000 employees, and then market value over $25 billion, super valuable, and then they need but they only have 3% of a market share. But we all know in the internet era, the winner take all, but that's not the case in the freight forwarder industry, okay? And why is that? Because it is super, super complicated, okay? And then I will share with you the journey, why it is so hard. Imagine today you are a business owner, and then you invent a very, very cool product, and then you found a factory in Vietnam. They can manufacture the product for you, and then you have a 10 container ready to ship from Vietnam to Chicago. If you think about it, how are you going to get those 10 containers to Chicago? First, you need to collaborate with the factory. Second, you need to collaborate with the trucking company to pick it up from the factory to the port. And then find a ocean carrier or the airline, and then from Vietnam to LA. And then, before you load on the container to the ship, you need to handle the custom. And then finally, everything is well planned, and for sure, there will be a typhoon sitting in the Pacific Ocean waiting for you to disrupt your schedule. And then finally, your container arrives LA, and you need to handle US custom. and then put it on the train. Yes, we still have a train system in US, and then from LA to Chicago, and then after that, find another trucking company, pick it up from the train station to the warehouse. So this whole journey from the factory all the way to the warehouse, in many cases, you need to collaborate up to 18 different company or governments entity to collaborate to make through this whole shipment. So it's very, very complicated and then full of exception. In reality, is that over 70% of a shipment have a different kind of exception. And so traditionally, you need a human sit in the middle to collaborate all of this. So it is very, very painful for any business owner to do this. And then so if we take a deep drill in, right? If we look at this whole journey from this flow show you that from the importer and the exporter, this whole journey work. First, the importer need to make the purchase order, and then the exporter need to start to do the booking, and then step by step, we need to pick up the container and then handle in the port, and then handle the custom, load on the ship, and then before enter US, you also need to clear the custom and then eventually the trucking company can pick it up and then deliver. And then usually there are more than 20 documents need to handle and a handshake along the way. So it is a relay, okay? It's a relay from unstructured data and full of data quality issue. Imagine most of this document rely on human to type it in, okay? And then or some entity, some company or some carrier, they do have a digital system, but many cases, these systems are not fully integrated with each other, okay? And then so you need a phone call, email, fax, paper, you name it. Imagine there's a trucking company with 3 small trucks in a small town. There's no way they have an API to integrate with you, right? And then all they have is a paper and phone call, okay? And then so traditionally, the freight forwarder is purely a black box. The freight forwarder handle this whole flow, but manually to handle that, and then to collaborate with all the parties. And then that's even in the nowadays with all the technology, with all the internet, but this is how global trade works. Super inefficient, and super complicated, and full of exception. But at the same time, all of us enjoy Amazon's fast delivery, right? In old day, the expectation is 3 weeks, but now all of us expect is 2 days or even same days. In the future, we're even looking for the 2 hours delivery, right? And then so we have to rethink how this whole supply chain work, okay? And then so Flexport, we basically use new technology and architecture, want to design this whole system to really fulfill the future need, okay? As an engineer, when I joined the company, I was really shocked how much lagging this industry it is. But at the same time, I really love it. I really love it. Why? Because it's a real problem, okay? It's not something kind of fancy or cool. No, this is the global trade. This impacts everybody. If you can improve 5%, 10%, or even 20% of efficiency, you save huge amount of energy. You reduce dramatic CO2, right? And really make all the party can work way more efficiently, okay? And then solve a lot of people's pain, okay? I was shocked when I first time talked to our customer. They told me that, hey, Chen, in many cases, I even don't know where are my containers, okay? And then that container may have $1 million of goods inside, but they could not find where it is, okay? And then at Flexport, what we do is that we build a platform, bringing our customer into the platform, bringing all the factory into the platform, and then bring all the carrier to the platform. So now, when I have all the information and data in hands, then we can streamline this whole process end to end, make it way more efficient, okay? And then so it's a huge market, customers are in pains, and it's super fragmented, okay? And then third part is that it's also a very high entry barrier for the new startup or new company to enter. Why? Because it requires a lot of domain expertise, right? How do you handle the custom in all different countries? And then the second is that you also need the licenses in multiple countries. And third, you also need the global infrastructure to make it work, okay? And then at Flexport, we really nailed it. And then so we make customer life much, much easier. And then we grow like crazy. So from 5 people, within 6 years, we grow to 1,800 people, from the apartment in San Francisco to 18 offices around the world, okay? And then we are really solve the real world problem and to make global trade easy for everyone. But at the same time, I want to share with you is that as we grow, right, as a startup, when we start, we want to move fast, just like everyone, right? Probably many of you also work in the startup. So we use Ruby, and then use the database, everything in AWS. We push to production 50 times a day. We move very, very, very fast. But many engineers, including myself, when we start, we don't know how complicated this industry it is, right? In many cases, I even joking that actually this is not one company. We are kind of combine 10 different companies into one. Why? Air, ocean, trucking, warehouse, insurance, custom, capital, and more. Every vertical is so deep. Domain knowledge is so deep, and the more important is that we need to connect all the dots all together so that we can really solve the problem end to end. If today I only tell customers, say, hey, I give you the best airline service, that does not solve the problem. Because what customer really care is that how can you help me to deliver it to the warehouse, okay? And then we serve from the small customer, like a seller in Amazon Marketplace, right, to the huge company have their own warehouse, right? So for the small seller, we basically, you can say, ask Flexport that, hey, Flexport, this is the factory XYZ. I have this small amount of goods. I need to ship to Amazon fulfillment center. We manage this whole flow for you, okay? And then for a big company, we handle this from factory to their own warehouse. But it's really, really complicated. And then more important is that we are dealing with the physical world. It's real, okay? And then it's not like other company, right? Like Google, Facebook, everything is in the digital world. The major challenge in our case is we are dealing with the real world. And in real world, actually, it's very, very unpredictable. Give you an example. We want to know whether the ship arrived or not. Or as an engineer, all of us can think, oh, it's very straightforward, right? The ship arrived, there should be someone log the information, and then that's the concrete data. But in reality, that's not the case, okay? Even for the many ocean carrier, if you go to their website, okay, their data is out of date or inaccurate, okay? And then so you will get all different kind of information from multiple data sources. You cannot just rely on one and then assume that data is correct. Data quality is a big problem in the logistic industry, okay? And then so now, you cannot just like traditional architecture say, hey, there's a update, something happened, and I just update the database, okay, and assume that's the truth, the source of truth. No, we cannot do that. Actually, we will get multiple ship arrival information from multiple data sources, and then eventually we need to make a judgment which one is real or more accurate, okay, and then so. After we learn in this journey, we learned so much and then got burned a lot, okay? And then so we decided that in in the new architecture, we want to move into the event-driven architecture, okay? Basically, we can add as many of different kind of data source, okay? And then just log all this event into the system, okay? And then on top of that, then have a consumer be able to do more intelligent analysis and then decide which one is accurate, okay? And so we use, after a lot of research, we decided to leverage AWS Kinesis as our basic event log infrastructure, and then so that we can have all different kind of data source and adapter, right? You can see some really old technologies like EDI, okay? A lot of this carrier, they are still using EDI. How many of you have heard about EDI? Okay, some of you, right? And then also, some vendor or carrier or trucking company, they don't have any API or even EDI, so we even need to build our own crawler to scrape their website, okay, to extract the data, okay? And some company have API we can integrate directly, okay? And then basically, the spectrum is so wide, and then we do everything we can to collect information. And now just get back to the previous example, right? A small trucking company in a remote town, they don't have anything can integrate with you. So, but if we cannot solve the problem, then we need our own operation people work with them to type in the information, right? So we build our own GPS device and mobile app, and then the whole transportation management system, and then give to our partner, trucking partner, and say, hey, actually use this system, this GPS and mobile app, you can manage your business much easier, you can much better, and then at the same time, Flexport can have much better understanding where are all the containers, where are all the goods, okay? And then so we do everything, we use all different technology, technique, and then work with our carriers, work with our customer, and then factory, okay? And to be able to inject all the information into the system. And then now when we have all the event happening in the real world, we collect them into the event log infrastructure. Then on top of that, we have all different kind of consumer process to analyze those events, and then decide what's the next step, and then generate a real-time workflow, okay? And then the other part is that we also have a batch processing, start to analyze all this event. Just back, for example, we get multiple event about a ship arrival, then we can start to use machine learning and then advanced analysis process to decide, okay, which data source will be more accurate, okay? And then we can give a different event or different level of confidence level to decide, and then to use to pick the right one for our system, okay? And then the last part is that so we have a real-time trigger workflow process, and then in the batch mode we have we can build a forecasting, machine learning training model, and then be able to combine together. We can provide much better logistic management end-to-end for our customer. And then so this is a good example, right? It's that in our standard workflow, okay? Actually, if we analyze the whole process from the factory all the way to warehouse, in many cases, it will take up to 700 different operations, okay? And even more challenge is that different customers have a different standard operation procedure, okay? Some small customers, they don't care. As long as you can deliver in time, they are fine. But for the big enterprise customer, they will have all different customized process that we need to work with them, okay? And then so it become, in early day in our architecture, as engineers, we talk to the business, we talk to the end user, and then they just, and they say, oh, to do this, this is certain step or certain workflow. And engineer just hard-code it into the system. But later we realize that that's not how it works. In many cases, when you talk to the end user, they tell you that, hey, this is how it should work, but actually it is not. even within the same company, talk to two different people, they will give you different answers, okay? And so in reality, there's no best practice or really truly a standardized process in this industry, okay? And then it becomes mission impossible to say, hey, we are able to find the best or the standard process and then really design the system in that way. So it becomes very important is that we want to take one step back. Is okay, let's create a workflow engine, okay? So that based on the customer need and then based on the business context, and then as we evolve, we can easily change the way, change the operation and then be able to be way more flexible to suit the future growth. This is very, very important. Okay, otherwise, it becomes very, very difficult to scale. Okay, and then so we talk about the industry, and then we also talk about the architecture. Basically, we are using event-driven architecture and workflow to handle the complexity of this industry. Third, let's take a more specific example. Okay, let's talk about a document. So in the previous example, I shared that there are up to 20 different kind of documents need to be handled in this whole flow, okay? But there's a specific one, very important, it's billing, okay? We got all different kind of bills from our carrier. Can be a big ocean carrier or a very, very small trucking company, and then or airline, okay? And our business is doing very, very well. We double our revenue every year in the last, or more in the last 6 years, okay? And then the average cost, okay, to process a bill is $2, okay? And then we are handling 100,000 bills right now a year, but, and then we need to handle more than 500 different kind of bills. And as we grow, if we double every year, you can imagine this is how difficult it is. And you probably will ask, hey, Chen, in many cases, why can't you just do the system integration? The answer is yes. Okay, for the big carrier, they do have a technology integration. We can integrate with them, but the problem is that it's really a long tail market, right? We need to we provide a global end-to-end logistic. So the top 5 ocean carrier probably we definitely integrate with them, can get all bill directly. But for a lot of trucking company, right, and they just won't be. They could not provide this kind of integration. So most of them are still generate a PDF and send through emails, okay? And thanks God, they are not. We are not taking fax anymore, right? but that's the reality we need to handle. Okay, and then volume, in early day, when company is small, the volume is small, it is okay. But now, our volume grows so big, this is just not sustainable. And then so we decide to leverage the machine learning technology to solve this problem. Okay, and if you think about it, billing, right? So you get an email from the carriers, and then this email can come from any carrier, right? It's an email address. You can receive all different kind of email which contain PDF, okay? And first thing you need to do is now you decide, hey, is this really a bill or not? Okay, what kind of a document it is, okay? And the second step is you want to understand is this bill come from which vendor, okay? And then after that, then we want to say, okay, now we know this is a bill from the carrier XYZ, and then now we need to extract all the corresponding metadata, and then be able to, and then after extract the metadata, then we have to match our system. Is hey, this bill really match our specific shipment, then we can really correlate them together, okay? And then this is a good example. This is give you a clear example. Is in the left-hand side is a bill we receive from the carrier, right? And the right-hand side, they are all different kind of a PDF document, okay? And we need to train the system, say, okay, which one is bill, which one is not, okay? And then this is another, the next step is okay, now we say, hey, this is a bill, and then we need to identify from which vendor, okay? And why this step is so important is that when you can identify which vendor, that will dramatically reduce the complexity. At least usually the certain carrier, their bill always follow certain format, right? That will make the extraction easier. Otherwise, it make it very, very hard. Okay, and then these are the two different kind of bill. And then, but if you really compare these two, right? Actually, it's very difficult because human you can read. If you look at a line item, the worst part is actually in the line item. It's not very structured. It's unstructured data. They just put certain kind of description, okay? And then human can easily understand that, but it's very hard to really extract and the meaningful information. And also sometimes another good example is that in the bill, sometimes you need to identify what kind of currency, because we are handling a global trade, right? Which currency they are really mentioned in the document. And then so actually take a lot of effort to really train the model to be able to understand that. Okay, so now the next step is that really extract the content. And for us, it's very, very important to get, for example, shipment ID, bill of lading, and then container ID, invoice number, etc., and to be able to extract from those documents. And then this is basically how can we from this unstructured PDF, and then how can we really extract the content and then start to build a very clear key value relationship, okay? And then be able to translate that into a key value pair and then be able to match with our core system. But at the same time is that the hard part, if you look at the whole bill, right? The really hard part is the line item part, as we mentioned, okay? And then so we use AWS tech track to solve this problem. We work with their team, and then basically we need to provide a really big data set, okay? And then work with Amazon team, and then to really work together to learn how to train the data, train the model, modify the data set, and then so that constantly, it takes quite a lot of effort to be able to really dramatically improve the accuracy. And then at the same time is that, let's take this specific example, right? The issue is that the key value pair are very difficult to extract, okay? And then also, how can you really, because it's very, very descriptive, and how can you really extract a certain text? In the bill, it does not, in many cases, it does not provide a key. They only give you the value and assume you know what that means, right? It's not like a very clear spreadsheet. It's okay, this is name, this is a value. In many cases, in a line item, they just give you a value and assume you are able to interpret that. And so we need to so we actually also need to train the model. Is that, okay, when you see this kind of information, actually we will need to be able to find corresponding key to link them together. Okay, and then, but the next step of challenge is that, as we mentioned, this is a long tail, okay? The top 10 carrier probably have cover 80% of the bills, but they still have 500 different carriers spread a long tail for the rest 20%, okay? And then so from the data set point of view, in some cases, we may not have enough data, okay? Or in many, we constantly increase our coverage around the world. There's always a new vendor, new carrier join into the network, and then we also need to train the model. And then so it becomes very, very important is that how can we really link all this information together? So we basically build a system that also have a manual manual processing, okay? So that be able to, we let the machine learning extract the information and then show that information. And if it's a confidence level is really high, then we automatically process it. If the confidence level is low, then we identify, tag them, and then show up in the manual review queue, okay? And then that our operation people to identify, say, hey, to identify, hey, whether this extraction result is good or bad. And if it's bad, is incorrect, and then they will provide a human feedback, and then we send this feedback back to the training model to improve the quality. Okay, and then so through this whole process, and then this is the screenshot to show you how do we do that, right? And then so we show the original build, and then also show the extraction result, and then that our operation people be able to provide a feedback. And then this is a very, very critical in our process. We realize is that as we grow, as we continue in adding more carrier, this is a very, very important step to really be able to make this whole process, the whole machine can constantly enhance and then be more and more accurate. Okay, so that's the first example is how do we use the machine learning and AI and to solve one specific document digitalization issue. And then the next I would love to share is how do we use the knowledge graph, okay, to do a lot of very interesting analysis. If you look at this, right, look at the problem we try to solve. Actually, how do we handle a container from A to Z? Actually, it's a graph problem, right? For in our, let's say if I have a factory in Shenzhen, China, Shenzhen to Hong Kong, Hong Kong to LA, LA to Chicago, and actually it's a graph, okay? And then so in this whole journey, actually we collect a lot of super valuable information in this whole shipment process. We know how frequently a customer do the purchase order. We know how long a factory to prepare, to manufacture and get container ready. And then we know from point A to point B to point C, how long does it take, how many exceptions we need to handle, right? And then also in each node, what's the complexity there and how reliable there, okay? And we need to, in certain node, we need to handle custom, okay? And in certain warehouse, we need to deal with the thief problem, right? Just give you an example, some very high value but small item, okay? And especially through the airline, okay? And then you put them into the warehouse. Actually, we definitely face the stolen problem, okay? And all this information become very important data. And then we accumulate all this information. And then now we want to use this and then leverage the graph database and then build all the relationship between all this information. And then on top of this information, then we can do a lot of very interesting analysis, okay? This is just one example is that now on top of the graph database, we can do, for example, what's the best way, what's the shortest path, right, by the total time, okay? So that we can, just if you go to Expedia, we want to be able to tell our enterprise customers that through which route you can get your container in the fastest time, right? Or you want to know is that a certain route might have the shortest or fastest time, but it's not on time. Okay, what I mean is that got delay, okay, or got rollover, or for various reasons, is that customers say, I don't care whether it's the fastest, but I want the most reliable. When I say I want deliver within 20 days, I want that 20 days. How on time? What's the percent? How confident you are for the on-time performance? Okay, and some customers say, I just want the lowest cost. okay? Or I want the fastest. So everyone need a different demand. Or we can even say, hey, and then from the Flexport point of view, we can start to, based on all this analysis, we can offer very, very different kind of service package for our customer, right? Fastest, the best on-time performance, or the lowest cost, and you don't care how long it take, right? And then so actually that give the customer and also Flexport much more choices with a much better visibility and then a much more reliable result, okay? And so with all this data, we also leverage on this graph database, we also build a machine learning model and then to train them, okay? And in many cases, we even are able to do is that even certain route, we have never done it before, but with all the information, we are able to kind of forecast, project is that, hey, this is a new trade lane, we never handle it, but we think this is probably how long will it take, or what's the cost issue look like, okay? And then customer love it, This is a kind of a visualization is based on all those analyses, and we start to show, we can really show is that this is based on the on-time performance, and then be able to do a lot of advanced visualization. Yeah, and so if you take one step back, right, even though we tell customer, or at least for now, we say we are freight forwarder, but in reality, we are a data company. We don't own truck. We don't own we don't own ship, right? What we really do is that really collaborate and then collect all the information, and with the digital information, we are able to drive how the physical world work, okay? And so along the way, we accumulate very, very valuable enterprise-level information, okay? It's not as as big and humongous like Google or Facebook in the consumer-based information. It's like, oh, user XYZ, click this link, right? The value of each entry of a data is very, very small, but in our case is that every piece of data is extremely valuable. I still remember I visited one of my customers. The customer asked me, hey, Chen, can I download all our shipment information so that we can have better understanding how are we doing in our supply chain? I said, bingo, right? Because in reality is that we know much better than our customer about how they are doing in the supply chain. I know how frequently it takes to do the shipment, right? And what's the volume, what we even know how much test duty they owe, okay? And then how reliable which supplier really be able to deliver on time, okay? Get the cargo ready for the pickup. We actually have all those kind of information. So now on top of this, all this enterprise logistic information, we can do a lot of innovation on top of it. Okay, for example, so we roll out, the first one is very basic, is that we are able to start to handle provide a custom service for our customer. And the second is that we start to provide insurance service on top of that. Because now we have all this data, we are able to do more advanced analysis. And now we also roll out, last year we also rolled out capital. We are able to lend money to our customer, okay? Because we know how reliable they are. And then even better is that we know better about our customer than any bank, okay? And then we know how reliable they are and how much money they really need to support this kind of logistics and shipment. And then so we are able to do this kind of innovation. We call data product on top of it, okay? And then so the key thing is that if you, I've been at Flexport for 2 years, right? I just love how complicated this problem it is, and then how much change we can make to the global trade, okay? And it's just way lagging, and then with the right technology, with the right optimized process, okay? And then be able to constantly iterate and then fine-tune this whole process, we can make the global trade much, much easier and way more efficient for everybody, okay? And this is, we are just at the beginning of the journey, okay? And then, as I mentioned, is that this market is super fragmented. And then if you look at all our competitors, they are big, okay? They are really big, tens of thousands of people, and then in many cases, they need to manually handle all this exception. And then you probably ask, why can they use a new technology to do it? Some competitor, big competitor, if you go to their website, it requires 15 different login to log into an air system, log into ocean system, right? It just really, the mindset is very, very different, okay? And then that's why Flexport can grow so fast, and then to really disrupt this market. And then that's why we become one of the hottest startup in Silicon Valley. Yeah, so this is my sharing, and then thank you very much, and then, yeah.